Hi everyone, Dave here, Fit and Healthy Forever. Just a short video today on something that might be a bit controversial, steroid use in sport. Now, first of all, let me get one thing straight. We put this into perspective. Steroids in sport have been prevalent since the 60s, approximately. Now, I want to go on record as saying I don't condone or condemn their usage. I think it's a personal choice, just like someone smoking or recreational drugs or drinking, binge drinking. It's your personal choice. It's not my way, it's not my choice, but I don't condone or condemn anyone that chooses to go that route. So, if we put it in perspective, how many people do we know that die from smoking, drinking, recreational drug use, poor dietary lifestyle, lack of exercise, coronary heart disease, cardiovascular disease, cancer, obesity, diabetes, and so on? We all know someone. We've all had someone close to us, or we know someone that's died of it. How many people do you know that have died of steroid use? I follow the sport avidly, and I can probably think of 4 or 5, and I've been following it now since 1990 roughly, so 26 years, and I could probably count 5. Now, drugs like testosterone, which is the main, shall we call them PEDs, which are performance enhancing drugs. Testosterone is naturally occurring in the body. Most healthy males produce between 2 and 10 milligrams of testosterone a day. But the problem is, when you're buying it on the black market, because it's ostracised, it's been pushed underground, when you buy it on the black market, most of it's fake. There was a story years ago when I was using a local gym, and somebody was saying they'd bought some vials of it for injecting, not the oral, the injectable, and they found out that half of it had been tipped away and a vegetable oil had been put in. So it was half steroid, half vegetable oil. So the dealer was getting twice as much profit out of what he was getting hold of. Now, this isn't going to harm you, but you're not going to get the full effect of it. So this is what you've got to contend with if you buy on the black market. Now, WADA, or the World Anti-Doping Association, are at best treading water with their doping testing. As they get more advanced, so do the users. Now, what sport is it most prevalent in? Bodybuilding, weightlifting, powerlifting are probably the main 3, because you can physically see that. Okay, so as soon as you see a bodybuilder, a weightlifter, a strongman, you would automatically think they're taking drugs. And yeah, they probably are. So the other sport you might not know is things like strongman, cycling, track and field, golf, baseball, NFL, basketball, swimming, tennis, to name but a few. So virtually every sport you can think of has had some sort of steroid use or abuse over the years. It was rumoured that Arnold used performance enhancing drugs in the 70s, 60s, 70s when he was around, but he's still fit and healthy today, and he was 70 last year. He's 71 come this July, still fit and healthy. So who's to say that there's been no long-term studies done, as far as we know, on the use of steroids, only short-term. If you use moderate suggested dosages, who's to say that it's going to kill you in the long run? Nobody knows. May do, may not. So, if steroids, this is food for thought, if steroids were legalised under doctor's supervision so that the proper moderate dosages were used, and it was the real stuff they were getting hold of from doctors, wouldn't that be more of a level playing field? Because the Olympic organisers are talking about level playing fields. They want the steroid users out. What they're not realising is probably more people are using steroids in Olympics than aren't. They're just very clever at masking it. So that could be more of a level playing field. Could this be a way forward? It bears thinking about. At the end of the day, it wouldn't force it underground. You'd be getting proper legal stuff monitored by doctors using proper dosages. You'd have to produce paperwork to say before you competed in any sort of event that this is what you were using. Your doctor would have to endorse and so on. And I think maybe that could possibly work. They could certainly look at it, I'm sure. if anyone does choose to go the steroid route, what I would say to you is make sure that you're purchasing genuine stuff. Make sure you have at least 2 to 5 years, I suggest, of good solid training under your belt before you even go down that route, because in your 20s you're producing the maximum amount of testosterone naturally, so you probably wouldn't need to take performance enhancing drugs until you'd sort of got towards maybe 30, where your natural testosterone starts to decline. So make sure that you've got this training under your belt, and make sure that you buy something that you used to be able to get, I believe you still can, called a Steroid Bible. It's a big thick encyclopedia written by an expert who could tell you what sort of things you can stack together, what sort of dosages to take that would be safe and effective. Read something like that before you, don't just dive in and say, oh, my mate down the pub says take this, or a bloke in the gym says use this much. You need to know what you're doing. So make sure you get safe and correct advice. Also, if you go on davepalumbo.com, he's an ex-bodybuilder who's got a company called Species Nutrition and RX Muscle radio station and television. He sells a steroid testing kit. This has been sort of tested by a lot of people. It's quite expensive. I believe it's about $160. If you buy that, you can put a tiny drop of your steroid into it and it will tell you instantly whether it's fake or whether it's 100% decent stuff. Surely if you're going to waste a lot of money on steroids, you would like to know that you're getting the real deal. So that could be, if you're going to go down that route, that would be worth investing in for me. Personally, going down the steroid route, I would only consider if I was competing. I've never had any desire to compete, and as much as I love bodybuilding, anything to do with health and fitness, it's not my way. But in saying that, as I said at the outset, I don't condone or condemn it. It's got to be a personal choice. You have to make that choice, but base it on sound information, please. Don't just base it on Joe Blogg says this, me mate down the pub says the other. That's futile. Just don't. So, it's estimated about 30% of college and pro athletes use steroids. Also, 10 to 20% of high school athletes. Among US bodybuilders, studies of steroid use show it exceeds 80%. So these people who are testing, like Waddy, to me they're treading water at best, like I said earlier. They're not. They think they're making progress. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'm all for a level playing field, whether it's with or without steroids. But rather than drive it underground, where people are always going to use it and find ways to mask the usage, why not legalise it? You could have two organisations, someone who doesn't want to use it and someone who does. And go, that's what they've done in bodybuilding. They have a natural and an open, which is, you can use it or you can't use it. A guy named Ivan Waddington, he's a PhD, a visiting professor at the University of Chester and the Norwegian School of Sports Sciences, had this to say. This was in 2000, October the 4th, 2000, this was printed. According to the International Olympic Committee, only about 8 out of 11,000 competitors, Olympic competitors, tested positive, and that's proof that the war on doping has been won. I think this guy is smoking something, because what this Ivan's also saying is, this number is an extremely poor indicator of the prevalence of doping. There is general recognition among those involved in elite level sports that those testing positive represent only the tip of the iceberg. It's impossible to estimate how big the iceberg is, but it's clearly very large. Drug-using athletes often beat tests because they have access to specialised medical advice from sports physicians. Also, there is evidence of collusion between users and senior officials. Where there's money and fame, there'll always be abuse. Positive tests have actually been lost in several Olympics. How do you lose positive tests? I've heard of that before. So, the International Herald Tribune newspaper said this through this Ivan Waddington in 2004. Now, the International Herald Tribune changed its name in 2013 to the New York Times. That's a massive newspaper, New York Times. And what they said as a closing factor was, Olympic tests need a shot of candor. Candor means frankness, openness, sincerity, honesty, so on and so forth. That was his take on it at the end, the guy who reported this in the newspaper from Ivan Waddington. I just wanted to put that out there because, as I say, I've followed a lot of sports, but my thing's always been bodybuilding, fitness, weightlifting, powerlifting. I love those sort of sports, follow them avidly. But I do understand that they're taking performance enhancing drugs. I've never been naive enough to think they're not. I've also been to natural shows where they've been tested and they are very good too. It has to be an open choice. If you can allow people to kill themselves through smoking, drinking, poor dietary lifestyles, recreational drugs, and in some instances even helping people on recreational drugs to fund the habit while they're trying to go cold turkey. But these guys who are using drugs to enhance their physique or enhance their ability to perform get absolutely crucified. No, that's not a level playing field to me. If you're going to do one, do the other. But what you should be doing is looking at the possibility of everyone having the choice to use or not to use. But if they do choose to use, under doctor's supervision, produce paperwork, have it all open and above board so everyone knows who's using and who isn't. Stop it from going underground. Stop it from selling fake stuff on the internet from China and wherever. And let's have it all done properly if we're going to do it. That's my take on it. Anyone with any thoughts different or agree or disagree, please let me know. Until the next video, stay fit and healthy forever. Like, subscribe, and thank you very much once again for taking the time to listen. Thank you.